think you should.
The Boruto anime at this point of the series, with retelling the movies, I honestly thought, like, going into it, maybe they were gonna do like another like Dragon Ball Super with the retelling of the Battle of Gods and the Battle of Gods movie and the Resurrection F movie. I thought they were gonna do like the same thing and basically just like kind of retell it, but add in a little bit more information that we didn't get from the movies into the anime adaptation. And in a sense, that's essentially what's happening. That's essentially what's happening with the Boruto movie retelling in the anime. But I think this is just so much better because I think it's better. I think it's better animated, and I think it was executed a lot more properly because it's adding in more information that we didn't get from the beginning, and then later on in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week, especially with the previews, we're gonna get a lot more like stuff that we didn't see from the movie that we're gonna be able to see in the anime. And I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the previews in the beginning of the video just to get that out of the way. And essentially in the previews, we're getting a little bit more stuff about the training with Boruto, from Sasuke's teachings and stuff like that. But something from the movie that a lot of people like talked about whenever it was released a couple years back was, did Killer Bee die? Because in the movie he's shown in the Eight Tails form, shooting off Bijudamas all over the fucking place towards Momoshiki and Kinshiki, right? And essentially what happened afterwards when the fight was over is that Momoshiki then starts absorbing the chakra from Killer Bee, and most people just assumed that he died, insinuating that the tailed beast had been completely ripped out of him. But later on with the previews, not the previews, the credits at the ending of the movie, it shows that he's actually perfectly okay and he's alive, and we're gonna get a lot more information about that in the anime, specifically because it's gonna show more of that fight. And afterwards, when the whole arc is over, they're gonna show like, oh yeah, he's okay, he's alive, But something that I thought was pretty big and kind of important in the previews was that Gaara was in the previews, right? And he's actually shown talking to Shukaku, kind of like how Naruto did with Kurama during a little bit of part 1, whenever that would happen, and then Shippuden when he's trying to gain the chakra of the Nine Tails so that he can use the Kyuubi chakra mode. And then, he was doing the same thing with Shukaku, right? And that's insinuating that Gaara in the anime for the Boruto movie retelling is now a Jinchuriki again. And the reason why I think that's really important is because in Shippuden, he had gotten, the one-tailed beast ripped out of him thanks to the Akatsuki, and then he died, and then he was revived back, and then he continued being the Kazekage for the Sand Village, and he just wasn't a Jinchuriki anymore. And afterwards, when the war arc was over, and the series had continued with all of its filler, and then it ended with Naruto Shippuden, and then Boruto came out. Well, Boruto came out before the Naruto Shippuden ended, and that's the point. And so it wasn't really insinuated that he was, the Jinchuriki of the One-Tailed again, right? And he is. The previews pretty much insinuates that yes, he does have the one-tailed beast sealed within him. He has Shukaku sealed within him, and he's the Jinchuriki of the One-Tail again. And I think that's really cool because I always wondered like how it would be for Gaara to be, the Jinchuriki for the One-Tailed again. Because like, what if he started like training with Killer Bee in order to be able to control the chakra from the one-tailed, and then he was able to go into like a tailed beast like form like Killer Bee, or would he get the same thing like with Naruto? I feel like with what Naruto got, that's exclusive to him and that's specific towards him. So most likely Gaara would have gotten whatever Killer Bee does. He gets like the the red form with like the multiple with like the one tail, and then he can turn into like the full tailed beast for the one tailed, obviously, right? Shukaku, right? I imagine that's what he would have gotten if he was still the Jinchuriki in Shippuden, but hopefully we get to see a little bit more with that. Hopefully we get to see him fight against Momoshiki, and we get to see what he can do now, right? Considering that in the show, in this episode, they say that it's been 10 years since the Great Ninja War. And so now, beginning with the actual part of the episode that wasn't the previews, that had a lot of explaining because there was a lot I kind of wanted to talk about. The episode starts off where we left off last week. Last week, with Sasuke showing up in the Leaf Village. He's like, "Where's Naruto?" He meets Boruto, right? And he leaves to the Hokage's office so that way he can meet with Naruto and then talk about, the whole the palace with Kaguya, and there was a scroll that he got, and then he gave it to Naruto. And then, before he shows up, of course, Naruto is like kind of like on the floor, exhausted, tired, and moping around because he realized that he messed up his daughter's birthday, and he's kind of like mad at himself because it's just like, this didn't need to happen. And even Shikamaru is just like, dude, I told you to go home. That's what you need to do. And then Naruto is like, well, yeah, but there's like this whole stuff with Kaguya. There's the White Zetsu ruins that are appearing all over the place, and then the Chunin exams are about to start, and we're late with all the paperwork and stuff. So overall, Naruto is just really stressed out. He's exhausted. You can physically see him just exhausted and tired, and just he needs sleep, but he can't do it because he's trying to be the best damn Hokage he can be at the moment, protecting not only the village but pretty much the world, because there's a greater threat that's about to finally show up, and that's Momoshiki. And I say that kind of ironically because Momoshiki, spoiler alert, he fucking loses to Boruto, because in the movie he loses to Boruto, so I imagine the same thing's gonna happen for the anime, but whatever. So it continues on, and then we finally get to see the whole fight perspective of Sasuke being in Kaguya's palace, and then him fighting against Kinshiki, right? And there were like 2 weeks ago, I wondered why they didn't show the fight, or even last week why they didn't show the fight. I just got a tweet. Anyways, I was wondering why they didn't show the fight, right? Why didn't they show the fight against Sasuke and Kinshiki, right? Because I feel like that's almost kind of like an important thing, because then Momoshiki finds out that Sasuke has a Rinnegan, and so Sasuke can teleport around, he can get into Kaguya's dimensions and stuff, and then he can just he can traverse a lot more, and he can do a lot more stuff that they didn't anticipate. And Kinshiki even mentions himself that he didn't realize someone else besides Momoshiki and Kinshiki can get into the dimension besides them two. So the episode continues on. Sasuke, gives the scroll to Naruto. He reads it, and he has no idea what it says, and not even Sasuke can read it with his Rinnegan. So they go ahead and give it to the Cipher Core, which I don't know how they're gonna be able to decipher it, but I guess that works. So anyways, they show the fight with Kinshiki and Sasuke, and then they go back, and then they start talking about Boruto and how Sasuke thinks that he's a lot like Naruto, and Naruto's like, no, he's not. He's not like me at all. He's a lot more like you. And he's like, no, I take that back. He's nothing like that at all. He's not like us at all, and just whatever, right? And then so Sasuke goes out. He sees that Boruto's about to show up into the Hokage's office because he's gonna go beat up his dad or whatever, right? And so I'm glad they did this. I'm glad they didn't do this scene where Sasuke is like walking down like an alleyway, and then Boruto's trying to get like the jump on him with the transformation jutsu, and so they just decided to, you know what, it'd be better if we just get Sasuke to beat the shit out of Boruto, and that's what they do. And so then they go ahead and do the whole scene where it's like Boruto wants to be Sasuke's student. He's like, can you do the Rasengan at least? And then Boruto can't do it, so he's like, if you can't do the Rasengan, then why even bother being my student? And so Konohamaru is then explaining to Boruto, because Boruto asked Konohamaru to teach him how to use the Rasengan, and then he starts practicing. He starts trying to do the first part of being able to learn the Rasengan, which is with the water balloon. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you can do your own research about it. But essentially in part 1, there was a different way that Naruto learned how to use the Rasengan, and Boruto tries to do the same thing, but it doesn't work. And essentially what happens is that later on in the episode, after another scene, which we'll talk about in a second, he goes home, and then Hinata, goes out for the night or whatever, right? I don't know why, I don't know what she's doing, but she's going out and enjoying herself. So Boruto and Himawari are there, and then Boruto decides to bake a cake for some reason. Or no, in the episode he says he's gonna bake a cake, and it ends up being pancakes. So whatever, right? I don't know why that's important. I don't know why I said that, but whatever. I mean, it's kind of important. So he then starts stirring like I forget what it's called, like the stuff that's in the bowl in order to make the pancakes, I guess. And then it starts creating like a vortex, right? And Konohamaru was talking about, imagine the vortex kind of like thing in the water balloon, and then whatever, right? I'm trying to explain it as best as I can, but I can't really, explain it all too well. The episode explains it much better than I ever could. But, essentially Boruto is imagining the vortex in the water balloon, and it's not working. He then sees the vortex inside of the bowl when he's, trying to bake, and then he's like, oh, now I get it. And then he learns how to, pop the water balloon, and he does that. And then he does the same thing with a rubber ball. He learns how to use the Rasengan, and then he goes and shows it to Sasuke, and then Sasuke is like, I'd hardly call that a Rasengan, but I guess. And then he throws a fit. He throws his Rasengan, throws it to the distance, and then it disappears, right? And then you can actually hear an audio cue of it hitting one of the trees, and that's because one of Boruto's, unique quirks about his Rasengan is that he adds the wind style element to it as he's forming the Rasengan, not like the Rasen Shuriken, like how Naruto does it, but for Boruto specifically, he's able to, form the Rasengan while adding in the wind release into the Rasengan, and then he can throw it, it disappears, but it's still there and it's still coming towards wherever he throws it at. So, of course Sarada shows up and he's like, you don't understand Boruto at all, da 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 da. She says whatever, right? He's never been like this, so it's kind of unusual to see him like this. And Sasuke's like, you both jumped to a conclusion. I was gonna accept them, yada yada, right? And then Boruto does the whole fucking thing with the ninja tool. He takes it, shows Sasuke that he can do the Rasengan thanks to the ninja tool, and then the episode pretty much ends there. And then the scene that I was gonna talk about that I just find kind of funny and kind of like a very Sakura thing to do is that Sasuke goes home, Sarada opens up the door, she's obviously surprised because it was unexpected that Sasuke was gonna be home. Sakura goes to the door to see who it is, sees that it's Sasuke, and then she passes out. And I'm just like, why? You couldn't have done something better than just fucking pass out by seeing your fucking husband? Like, Jesus Christ, why is that such a fucking Sakura thing to do? But whatever, just let that be how it is. So anyways, that's pretty much the end of the episode, and I already explained the previews in the beginning of the video, so if you want to hear about the previews, just go back and rewatch the beginning of the video. So anyways, that's the end of the episode, which pretty much means that's the end of the video. And if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like, and if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button for future videos just like this. I'm stuttering on my words a lot, and I apologize. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic day, and I'm out. Peace.